The desert night in Riyadh shimmered beneath a canopy of lights as anticipation rolled through the arena like distant thunder. This wasn't just another title defense, this was destiny calling. In one corner stood the undefeated British contender, Hamzah Sheeraz, tall, composed, carrying the quiet confidence of a man who had never tasted defeat. Across from him, gripping the green and gold belt that symbolized supremacy, was the reigning WBC Middleweight champion, Carlos Adams, hardened, battle-tested, and determined to protect everything he had fought for. The crowd buzzed with divided loyalty. British flags waved proudly while Dominican drums echoed with rhythm and pride. The air felt electric, thick with tension and expectation. Sheeraz's journey had been methodical, a rise built on precision, discipline, and the belief that his moment would come. Adams' path had been carved through adversity, forged in grit and resilience. One sought validation, the other demanded respect. As the fighters received their final instructions, eyes locked across the ring, neither man blinked. The magnitude of 12 championship rounds loomed heavy. This was youth and hunger against experience and fire. The bell was moments away, but the battle had already begun in the silence between heartbeats, in the weight of history pressing down on both shoulders. When the referee stepped aside and the fighters moved forward, the arena held its breath. Somewhere in that charged stillness, legacies were about to be tested. The opening rounds unfolded like a tactical chess match played at violent speed. Sheeraz immediately established his long, authoritative jab, snapping it out with clinical precision. Each punch wasn't thrown in haste, it was measured, purposeful, designed to dictate distance. Adams circled low, bending at the waist, slipping just outside the challenger's reach, studying patterns. The height difference was impossible to ignore. Sheeraz used every inch of it, stepping back half a pace and firing straight rights down the center. The champion answered with compact counters, sharp hooks that thudded against ribs and arms. In round 2, a clean right hand from Adams cracked against Sheeraz's jaw, a reminder that belts are earned through fire. The crowd reacted in waves, cheers for the challenger's crisp combinations, roars for the champion's bursts of aggression. Sheeraz appeared calm, almost serene, controlling the geography of the ring. His footwork was subtle but effective, gliding laterally, keeping Adams turning. Yet beneath that composure, the champion was calculating. Every feint, every slip, every body shot carried intention. By the 4th round, the tempo began to rise. Adams edged closer, cutting the ring more sharply. The challenger still controlled the outside, but the space between them was shrinking. Momentum felt fragile, like glass ready to crack. The early rounds hinted at Sheeraz's technical brilliance, but they also whispered a warning. Champions do not fade quietly, they adapt, and as the 5th round approached, a shift in energy suggested the fight was about to change.
Round 5 marked the turning point. Adams abandoned caution and pressed forward with purpose, digging hooks into the body with punishing intent. The thud of leather against flesh echoed audibly, drawing reactions from ringside. Sheeraz held his ground more often now, trading instead of retreating. The champion's upper body movement became sharper, slipping inside the jab and countering with short, explosive combinations. Right hand midway through the 6th landed flush, snapping Sheeraz's head back and igniting the crowd. The champion's confidence surged. His pressure intensified. Body, head, body again, he layered his attack with veteran precision. Sheeraz's jab, once dominant, began appearing less frequently. The challenger searched for rhythm, but Adams disrupted it with relentless forward motion. Round 7 turned gritty. The distance that once favored Sheeraz now belonged to the champion. Inside exchanges grew physical, shoulders bumping, gloves grinding against guard. The momentum had shifted. Adams stalked, rolling under counters and firing back with authority. Yet Sheeraz refused to crumble. He responded with sharp uppercuts and straight rights when openings appeared, moments of brilliance flashing like sparks in the darkness. Still, the champion's consistency painted a clearer picture for the judges. Each round felt heavier than the last. The middle stanza belonged to experience, to a man who understood that championship fights are marathons, not sprints. As the 8th closed, both fighters returned to their corners, breathing harder, eyes focused, knowing the final chapters would demand everything left in their reserves. The championship rounds carried a different kind of tension, the kind that settles deep in the chest and refuses to ease. With 4 rounds remaining, urgency replaced calculation. Sheeraz's corner urged combinations, pleaded for sustained defense. The challenger answered in spurts, landing crisp straight shots that briefly halted the champion's advance. But Adams remained composed. Round 9 showcased his maturity. He varied speed, mixed levels, and continued to punish the body. Each hook downstairs slowed Sheeraz's legs just a fraction more. The crowd sensed the shift, their cheers growing louder with every successful surge from the champion. In the 10th, Sheeraz rallied. A beautifully timed uppercut split the guard, followed by a right hand that forced Adams back a step. The arena erupted. For a moment, the tide seemed to tilt again, yet champions are defined by response. Adams steadied himself, reasserted pressure, and closed the round strong with compact flurries. Fatigue etched itself across both faces in the 11th. Sweat flew under the lights as punches grew heavier, less frequent but more meaningful. Sheeraz pressed forward, aware that he might need something dramatic. Adams boxed intelligently, tying up when necessary, firing counters when opportunities arose. The 12th and final round began with everything hanging in balance. Both men exchanged in center ring, neither willing to concede. When the final bell sounded, exhaustion replaced tension. They embraced briefly, warriors acknowledging the storm they had weathered together. Silence fell as the scorecards were collected. 12 rounds of momentum swings, tactical adjustments, and raw determination had led to this fragile moment. Both fighters stood center ring, gloves resting on hips, chests rising and falling. The announcer's voice cut through the arena, 115-114 for Sheeraz. A roar erupted. Then 118-110 for Adams. Confusion rippled across the crowd. Finally, 114-114. A split draw, gasps turned into debate. The WBC champion, Carlos Adams, retained his title not by dominance but by resilience. Hamzah Sheeraz had come within inches of seizing greatness, only to find the summit guarded by experience. There was no bitterness in their eyes, only mutual respect. For Sheeraz, it was a lesson etched in fire, proof that talent must be matched with sustained urgency. For Adams, it was validation, confirmation that grit and adaptability preserve champions. As the belt remained around the Dominican's waist, the British challenger raised his head high, knowing he had proven he belonged. The desert night that began with promise ended with unfinished business. Somewhere between those 12 rounds, a rivalry was born. And in the echoes of that final bell, the boxing world understood one truth: this story was far from over.